Hi, everyone. My name is Liz. I am a certified Christian life coach and I specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery. This is my eighth or ninth time trying to record this word. It's about 15 minutes each time. So I bind and rebuke anything from the enemy that is trying to stop this from getting out and cast it back to wherever it came from. And I ask that God's will be done here and right now in this moment. So, y'all, this word, I believe this word is for you whenever it comes across your feed, because I'm brand new at this. This is the only second video. This is only the second video I have ever made for YouTube. And I'm doing this out of obedience to the Lord. I have prophetic gifting and he speaks to me mainly in dreams and just in my everyday natural, a lot of times with animals. Numbers are also big. But this word is for you if you are a true child of God. Okay. There's a lot of people who attend church and they might even tithe, but it doesn't mean that they believe with their heart. Okay. If you have been obedient to the Lord and you've taken steps in faith without knowing the outcome because you trust him, this word is for you. Okay. Specifically, there's been some spiritual warfare, perhaps some betrayal. This word is for you, but take it back to the Lord to confirm. And here we go. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to call this word, but this word came about on November 14th. Had been praying about getting a new kitten, and the last entry in my journal was, I think, from the day before, and I have a question mark. It says, "Should I name the cat Topaz?" Okay, question mark. Now, 11/14, that date was really sticking out for me. It's like shimmer, like God he lets me know when he's trying to speak to me. It's just a knowing in my spirit. And so I sat with 11/14 and I asked him, is it Strong's Concordance? Or is it something in the Bible? And he gave me Hebrews 11/14. Now in my Bible, which I think is NIV, this entire, chapter or whatever is called Faith in Action. And the verse itself reads, "People who say such things are looking for a country of their own." This is referencing believers who endure hardship and obey the Lord in faith, even in difficult circumstances. This is for you. That's what proves that we are godly minded kingdom men and women, is when we are in tough times and we don't want to do what God is telling us to do, but we're going to do it because God told us to do it. Okay. This also aligns with a few other, Bible verses. John 15:19, if you belong to the world, it would love you as one of its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I've chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. So there are other people who are going to be self-proclaimed believers who have come up against you, and God wants you to know he's fighting for you. Okay. God is on your side. If you have surrendered your life to the Lord and you pick up your cross daily and you're constantly doing what he's telling you to do, you forgive when it isn't easy, you hear tiny whispers about going to talk to certain people, things like that, God's going to fight for you because you are one of his soldiers bringing his will up in heaven down here on earth. That's what we're supposed to be doing. His will, building his kingdom down here on earth. Okay. Now, this whole thing, I was thinking about getting the kitten, and the breeder's name was Esther Wheeler. Okay. She sends me over a contract. It's number 373. Excuse me. So I just thought contract and covenant. What's the difference? Okay. A contract is legally binding and it's usually pretty temporary. It's for like a service or a good or something. Excuse me, drinking water. And the contract number was 373, and then it said Esther 9/24/25 because that's the cat's birth date. Okay. Of course, I immediately go to Esther, the book of Esther, chapter 9, verses 24-25. Y'all, this is about when Haman, I want to read it to you, but I'm afraid to switch screens on my computer because I think that's part of why everything keeps crashing. But this is when Haman had basically cast a lot to destroy the Jewish people, God's people, right? So God's enemy, someone of God's enemy, was coming up against the children of God, God's chosen people, and it got reversed. The king, catch that, okay? Because the king is God. Who's king? Jesus. Jesus is king. he reverses it and actually boomerangs it back. And everything that Haman had planned for the Jews actually happens to him and his children. Okay. And it was about hanging them on a gallows. So it was about actually trying to kill them. Now Wheeler, which is Esther's last name, Esther Wheeler, the cattery lady, that made me think of when Moses is leading the Israelites in Exodus, the book of Exodus, through the Red Sea. It specifically talks about how it was dry land. So even though the Red Sea was just parted, when God's chosen people walked through it, it was dry and there was no mud. Okay. But then right after that, when Pharaoh's army goes through, the chariot wheels get stuck in the mud. Okay. And that's all God, right? He's got them wobbling. They're stuck in the mud. It was dry for his people. That's the Lord fighting for his people. And if you guys go back and read that, they didn't know what was going to happen when they had to just keep walking to the Red Sea. Like, they were walking towards the Red Sea, having no clue why they needed to do that. But that's what God was telling Moses to tell them to do. So they did it without knowing that the Red Sea was going to be parted. Okay. So whatever God is telling you to do right now with this situation where you've been betrayed, which is actually just, you were delivered, or you have people coming up against you, just do whatever the Lord's telling you to do. And guys, a lot of times it's going to be to pray for them. It's going to be to pray for those people. And he's not going to force you to do that forever. It's going to be for a set amount of time. And just obey God. Okay. Now, back to the cat. I'm thinking about the cat, the kitten. Where's the cat appear in the Bible? Well, the first time I always think is then the lions, roaming around like a roaring lion. Okay. 1 Peter 5:8, it says, be watchful and control yourselves. Your enemy, the devil, is like a roaring lion. He prowls around looking for someone to swallow up. That was really interesting, whatever version of the Bible that I read that in, that it used the word swallow up, because swallow up is exactly what happened to Pharaoh's army in the Red Sea. The Red Sea clashed all over them and the earth swallowed them up. So again, just reiterating here that what the enemy meant for you, and the enemy is not the people, guys, it's the spirits operating behind the people. But whatever meant for you, especially if you're praying for them, that's usually God trying to use you to intercede and soften their hearts and get them to repent and all of that. It is going to boomerang back. Okay. Especially if it's more intentional than that. And then the other clear time a cat is mentioned in the Bible is Jesus, right? The Lion of Judah, and Jesus is all power, authority, and he always has victory over Satan. And if you are one of God's soldiers down here and you're a true disciple doing what he asks you to do, God wins, guys, and he fights for his people. It's part of our covenant. God's covenant is his commitment to you, even when you mess up, because he sees your love for him and he can see your heart. This isn't obedience in a legalistic way. This is out of like genuine love and trust and fear of him, Genesis 12:3 says, I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and all the families of earth shall be blessed through you. End quote. So God will show favor to those who favor you, and he's going to oppose those who oppose you. Why? Because you're living to bring God's will down here. Okay. And that takes a lot of humility, because you're probably apologizing. You're probably wanting to forgive and reconcile. And, those who are prideful, God opposes the proud. We know that too. That's all that I got for 11:14. And then the very next day on November 15th, okay, I had been reading the book of Daniel again, because that's what the Lord had led me to do. And, again, remember on 11:13, the last thing I had written in my journal was, should I name the cat Topaz? ? Okay. So I've opened the Bible. I'm on Daniel chapter 10. And I start reading Daniel 10 and I get to verse 6 and it says, this is the NIV version, his body was like topaz. His face was like lightning. And then it goes on to describe this person. You guys, I looked it up. Topaz is only mentioned in the Bible, depending on what version, like 4 or 5 times. So it's rare. So the fact that Topaz had been on my mind, and then we were in Daniel here, and What's happening in the man that I was just describing, we don't know if it's an angel, the angel Gabriel, or a pre-incarnate Christ himself, but it is definitely something high ranking that is coming to speak to Daniel to tell him that God heard his prayer on the first day, but it was held up for 21 days because of Satan. It talks about the prince of Persia being at war and Michael, the archangel, having to come to defeat him. The war you are in is spiritual, because once you're all in for God and you're bold in your faith and you have surrendered, the only way the devil can get to you is through other people. Okay. It is not the people coming up against you. It is the spirits they are operating in. We all need healing and deliverance, and our deliverance and healing is going to come in full surrender to the Lord. And healing hurts, and a lot of people don't want to go through it, but you have walked through it. You have allowed the healing and the pruning to take place, and you've probably experienced a lot of grief and dying to self, because that's what it requires. Anyway, I named the cat Seraphina Topaz because I felt like it was suiting. Seraphim is a very high ranking angel. It means burning one. The name Seraphina means burning ones or fiery. And it just reminded me of that angel that had come to speak to Daniel in this word. And they're known for their passion and zeal, which you are also going to be passionate and zealous for the Lord if this word is for you. So whatever you've been through, whatever you're still walking through, just know God has you. Okay. And he doesn't just have you in that he's going to protect and provide for you. He is fighting your enemies for you. And you can join him in that in prayer, while still fighting in prayer against the spirits in people, but for the people themselves. All right. So you want those people to be reconciled back to the Lord. You want them to be humble and, repentant and all of that. But no one gets away with anything, okay, especially when they're coming up and wreaking havoc in your life, because God has, if you're anointed, there's a purpose in your life and he's trying to use you. And we're flesh, okay? So this stuff can rattle us and it can take us out. I mean, my last situation took me out for quite a while. It was actually one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, and was a very mature Christian when it happened. Okay. But we're flesh and it is what it is. I love you all. I hope this word is encouraging to you. If you're feeling down in the dumps, know that God has your back. And, if you're feeling alone, pray for that community, that godly community and godly friendships. And yeah, I hope this, takes this time, because I don't know if I can do it another time, but, I'll see you again on the channel soon.